Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Topics. We have a surprise. Angela Porter is 50 today. I just saw it come across the chat. So, good morning. Where are you streaming from, as we do every morning? I'm here in New York. Big event happening in Las Vegas last night. We'll get to that. Anybody from Vegas? Anybody from Nevada here? Happy Friday to Pamela Klug. We're so glad that you could join us this morning. We're glad that isn't it a great community? You guys start the show in the chat even before I start the show. I want to vote again, says Thomas Aglione. Thomas, did you vote? Did you turn your vote in already? Don, trolls get rolls. Bob Farrell, I guess there's a troll in here. Whatever. Brooklyn's in the house. Vantris. California is Demetra Cephas is here from California. Kansas, Cindy D is from Kansas. Chicago, Tiffany O. Oh my gosh, you guys are in Louisiana, Fort Collins, Colorado. Marietta, Georgia. Wow. Peoria, Illinois. We're so glad that everyone is here this morning, okay? So a couple of things that we're going to talk about. Did you miss it last night? The Democratic heavy hitters were out in force in defense of the Vice President Kamala Harris. They were out campaigning for her in Pennsylvania. Former President Barack Obama spoke directly to American men, characterized Donald Trump as cruel and self-centered, saying that he doesn't represent, and I quote here, real strength, okay? And then Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro also took the stage last night. Barn burner of a speech. If you missed it, we're going to play a little bit of you. He is a great orator, and Barack Obama. It was interesting to see the two on stage together, and so fantastic stuff. Okay, wow, look, good morning, good morning. Happy birthday to Angela Porter, okay? 50 years old, half a century. Angela, you're telling your age. Only because you put it in the chat am I doing it. Obama kicked butt, says Nubian Goddess. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see. And maybe we can educate some of the folks who are here, some of the MAGA people who are on the stream and who are watching us. Thank you for watching us. We appreciate it. You're adding to our streamers list and to our numbers for people who are watching. We appreciate it. And since you're here, MAGA folks, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up as well. We love that too. I love President Obama's speech, says Miss Ladybug. We're so happy that you're here again. So we're going to talk about that. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris took questions from undecided Latino voters in Las Vegas in a town hall last night. Unscripted format that she has used to show empathy with Americans while also making the case that her opponent does not care about the problems of the middle class. There's a whole thing out there, conspiracy theories. She used a teleprompter, on and on and on. So we're going to do something a little bit unusual this morning for our Hot Topics. We have a live Hot Topic. You guys ready for the live Hot Topic? The live Hot Topic is none other than Mr. Brian Shapiro. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Don. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you here. I'm glad that you're safe. The reason that Brian is our Hot Topic is because he attended the town hall in Las Vegas last night. And also, Brian is, I think, lucky to be here looking the way he looks. Consider that he was mobbed last night by some MAGA folks in the town hall parking lot, correct? Out
Correct.
In front of the building.
Yep, right outside. Yep.
Yeah. So, Brian, we're going to get to that because it's crazy. Again, we're glad that you're safe. We're glad that you survived that. I don't know if you were in jeopardy at any moment, but it certainly was heated. So take us behind the scenes of this town hall because you were in the building last night. What was it like? What was the crowd like? What was the vice president like? And did she use a teleprompter as some conspiracy theorists on the right are positing?
Well, let me start with the latter there. Absolutely not. She did not use a teleprompter. In fact, the moderator of that event went on social media and said that was his teleprompter. So they did the same thing in the presidential debate. If you remember, they said that she was wearing earrings with microphones on them. And it's just absolute nonsense. Everything was off the cuff with her. I thought she did a great job. And I showed up about an hour or two before the event, and I saw a good amount of Kamala Harris supporters. I spoke to Congressman Stephen Horsford yesterday before the event, and there were a lot of supporters that were just waiting to get a glimpse of her. This was a private event, though. This was not necessarily public. This was an invite-only event, so there weren't a lot of people in there. Very intimate setting, and I thought she did a great job.
Yeah. Listen, I tell you, I have moderated town halls and debates, and there are teleprompters, and the teleprompters are usually for the hosts or the moderator of the debate. So you have your introduction when it comes on, and then the teleprompter goes blank. unless the producer wants to cue you to something like move to the economy next, right? And then you just look in the prompter as the host or the moderator and you say, okay, let's talk about the economy. Teleprompter goes blank, right? Unless there's a question that the producer says that you didn't follow up on. If maybe someone said something and you missed it, and they'll say, no, dig in on tariffs, and you'll say, I need to dig in a little more on tariffs here because I don't think you quite answered it. So that's how the teleprompter works. The teleprompter is not for the person who is being interviewed or the person who is the subject of the town hall. It is for the person who is moderating. Perhaps people are not smart enough to understand that, Brian?
There you go. I mean, that's what it is. People believe it. You know, conspiracy theories. I mean, I interviewed somebody on my show a few days ago that spread the conspiracy theory that people still believe, which is she was wearing earrings and people were talking to her through earrings in a debate. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that, maybe not a lot, but in Trump's base, some that believe the nonsense. I look at this as a compliment, right? This is a compliment to Kamala Harris. When the MAGA crowd out there believe that she's being fed answers, that means she did a good job. Right. I mean, so for Kamala Harris, I would take that as a compliment because she did do a good job.
Yeah. I listened to a morning call that does strategy for both Republicans and Democrats. And the folks who were the Republicans on this call, who are usually very tough on Kamala Harris, said, hey, she did a great job. If I was on her team, I would be telling her to do more of these because she comes across as human, and people get to know her. And also her answers they thought were pretty good. Okay, so let's discuss why, Brian. That's one reason why Brian is the live hot topic today. But Brian, I just want to show what happened to you. This was after, right?
Yeah, I did have some interaction with people before as well, which I posted on my social media, but it got really heated afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a woman, a MAGA woman, getting into Brian's face. Watch closely, everyone. Here it is.
It was called in the last 10 minutes because some people disagree with me. Not you, sir. I appreciate our conversation. I want to continue it. Because they're not capable of having a conversation. I've been called a pedophile.
You did too, though. You did too. You called us all kinds of names.
Here's another one.
You did too. Yes, you did.
I never called you a name.
Yes, you did.
I've been called a pedophile. You're yelling. Why are you yelling?
Why are you yelling? You yelled too. You yelled too.
I never called
you
you
said
a
I want to
comment.
have a decent conversation.
First of
That's
all,
what you were doing.
Back up.
I don't need to back up. It's a free fucking country.
Actually, you
How
can't
about
be
that?
right in my face.
How about
that's
that? It's
assault.
a free country.
It is a
Assault
free
is when I
country.
touch you. That's
No,
an
actually, assault is right here.
That's an assault.
Another lady who doesn't know the laws.
Yeah. So
Okay.
do you.
Have a nice day.
So do you.
Have a nice day. Another very
Dumbass.
intelligent Trump supporter.
Oh,
Have a nice day.
Kamala Harris. I feel so terrible.
Okay, so Brian, you went out to talk to them or to interview them?
So after the event, I was with my friend and I noticed that there were about maybe 20 to 30 Trump supporters out there, many of them wearing the same shirts. An organizer of the event comes up to me. She was very nice. An organizer, I should say, of the party, the people that were there. I don't know if they were being paid or not. They have their Trump signs, their Trump shirts. She shakes my hand. She gives me her number. And then all of a sudden, they see the media badge that I'm wearing. They say who you're voting for. This is before it was being recorded. And I said, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I had a lady that spit on me. And then that's when these interactions took place and it got pretty aggressive. And I was over there to talk to people, not to insult people. Now, obviously, if people are extremely ignorant, I'm going to call them out for it. Like if they say Trump won the 2020 election or he's innocent on all charges, he's not a felon, this and that. You know, sometimes, you know, I'll come back at them and I'll be aggressive, but never will I assault them. Never will I attack somebody that's respectful to me. And my goal was to go out there after the event and interview some people. And instead it turned into some of this stuff.
Did you ever feel unsafe at all
Absolutely.
when you were there?
100%. In another video that you'll show, I'll explain that a little bit, where a guy got right in my face. The good news is that there were some police officers there. So if something bad did happen, there was law enforcement there. But no question, there were some moments yesterday where I said to myself, if I'm going to go to these events again, I need to have a security guard with me because, yeah, no question that went through my mind.
Yeah, it did. That your safety.
Yes.
Because it got heated. I saw one where a man, I think deliberately,
Absolutely.
Tried to hit you with a flag. Now, I hear. Listen, it's a little tough in my earpiece. Did you say she spit on you?
So there was another woman, not the woman in that tape, but as I first got to the venue and I was asked, who are you voting for by a couple people? And I'm not going to lie to them. I said Kamala Harris, and a woman spit on the side of me, on my shoulder, just disgusting. And then that's the moment where I told my friend, start recording this. Start recording this. I just wanted to record interviews, but if people are going to assault me, I want it to be all on tape.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started.
All right. And Brian, we appreciate you joining us. We know it's early in
Sure.
Vegas. What is it, 7
Yep.
o'clock there? Yeah. Okay, so let's go. I don't know if this is the same man, but here's the man calling Brian a name, calling you a commie, which the former president does all the time to Kamala Harris. They call her Kamila, or Comrade Kamala, right? Which is saying that she's a communist.
Right.
Here's the man.
Don't you know? You don't even know who you're supporting. You're a commie. Yes. Everything she talks about is communism.
We have an insurrectionist, ladies and gentlemen, walking away. Insurrectionist. Okay. Thank you so much. I've never been interviewed by people that. This is interesting. I'm happy to have a respectful conversation with you, sir, if you'd like to. Okay. Well, you just came up to me and got a foot from my face, didn't you? You just got a foot from my face.
Get out of here.
You get out of here. So you want to talk to me, but I can't talk to you?
Listen, I told you, if they're vaccinated, you cannot get through to them. You are brainwashed. You are vaccinated. You can't help it.
Get out here. That's assault. That's assault.
Get out of here.
Okay, the weird thing, I mean, because it goes on and it builds, and look, and they come in your face, they come up to your face and like get really close to you. So here's the thing. You're vaccinated and we can't talk to you. Okay, that's misinformation, and it's really odd. I don't understand it. So what was that whole exchange about? And the flag in the face and the commie and
Yeah, so the guy got into my face a couple times. I'm trying to have a conversation with him. I'm trying to actually have a civil conversation with him. But as soon as he puts the flag in my face, I called him an insurrectionist, right? Then he comes back, gets in my face again. Here's the really interesting part of that video. You'll see a woman in a red dress who's pushing him away with the flag because he was trying to assault me with the flag. That was the organizer. That was the woman who shook my hand. She gave me her number, and she organized that group together. And there were a couple people with her that were trying to push these people away from me because they knew that it was a bad look for the group. But these people are so ignorant. Not only are they not capable of having a conversation, there were a few people there that were. Certainly not that guy with the flag. And he gets in my face. I want to try to talk to him. And my first question would be, why are you supporting Trump? You know, why are you here today? Because let's keep in mind, they're calling me an agitator, which I wasn't. They're at a Kamala Harris event, decked out in all of their Donald Trump gear, at a Kamala Harris event. Why are they there? Now, they have the right to be there, right? They have the right to be there, no question. But why are they there to begin with? So those are the questions that I wanted to ask him. He would not engage with me. He would call me a commie, and he knows nothing about me. Ask me a question. I would say, why do you think I'm a commie? But, you know, then you have like 4 or 5 or 6 different people that are surrounding me. And you have a guy, I don't know if you saw on a cardboard there, and he wrote down how much eggs are and groceries are. And later on, I said to him, then why is your boy selling watches for $100,000? Why is your boy selling Bibles for $60? Why is he selling gold sneakers? If you're worried about the price of eggs, then why is the guy who you support swindling these things and trying to make money? And, you know, eventually, you know, I didn't really get any direct answers from any of them. Unfortunately, these were people that were just there to agitate, but they don't want to answer any questions. They don't want to talk to the media. They want to attack me for being vaccinated. As Donald Trump would say, most of these people, very low IQ people, in my opinion.
Wow. Wow. I mean, they were very aggressive. And what is the whole vaccination thing? Is that something from the pandemic? Is that a carryover from that they actually believe that you're not smart or that something is wrong with your cognition because you were vaccinated?
Well, make no mistake about it. The anti-right-wing rhetoric during the pandemic is the reason why a lot of people died. There were right-wing radio hosts that were pushing anti-vaccine stuff. Some of them sadly died. This should have never been politicized. I don't know why it was. And because COVID was politicized, a lot of people died that didn't need to die. These are the same people that believe what they hear. If somebody on a Newsmax or a Fox News or a right-wing entity says something that is anti-vaccine and it's medical disinformation, unfortunately, they'll believe it. and they continue to believe it. I mean, they have conspiracy theories. A lot of these people still believe that Democrats and, started with COVID and Dr. Fauci created COVID. So how can you talk to these people? You can't.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. Also, when you tried to have a conversation with a woman about gun violence, and again, the vaccination thing came up, it's just another odd conversation and confrontation. Here it is.
Tomato.
Okay,
Does it really
who cares?
fucking matter?
Okay, you're a very intelligent woman.
I
Thank
am.
you. Yes,
I
you
have a
sound-
bachelor's and I was in law school.
sound
What do you
very
got? What do you got? What do you got?
You sound very intelligent.
And I didn't vaccinate. What are you on your fourth booster? Did you ever realize the vaccines have changed
when you start
your
swearing
brain?
at me and you
no,
can't even pronounce your
you
name
can't
right.
Even, oh, that's all you care
Have a nice
about is
day.
names. That's your comeback.
No, I care about you answering my question like I
don't want
answered
you to
yours.
close. I know how many times you vaccinated.
Okay.
You are DNA
Have a nice day,
changed.
ma'am. Have a nice
look at
day.
look at yourself. Look
Have a nice
at
day.
yourself.
Have a nice day,
Do you
ma'am.
really think?
Look at yourself. You're a cult member. Look at you.
Oh, I'm a cult member.
Yeah, look at you.
Oh,
Plan
because I
cult
work out
suspender.
in a gym and I don't eat
No,
McDonald's.
it's got nothing to do with your body. It's
Oh,
got
yeah.
everything to do with what you're wearing.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I wear Trump?
Go back to talking about
Because I wear
That'd be
Trump?
nice. That'd be nice.
See his comeback? Because I wear Trump,
You're a
you're a
smart
cult.
person. I
No,
can't
I
have a
thought I'm a
conversation with
deplorable
We're gonna
and a
talk about
terrorist. Don't interrupt me.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
I'm not, I don't have to be turned away from you.
You're right.
You don't dismiss me.
You're right.
You never dismiss
Have a nice
me.
day,
You
ma'am.
don't get to
Okay.
do the shove.
All right.
You don't even have to turn your back
Have a nice
because I'm
ma'am.
here.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
Why do you have to walk away?
Have a nice day, ma'am.
He's so stupid.
We are actually trying to have
We were
like a
actually
We
civil-
can
trying
have
to-
a nice conversation.
I asked the
When I'm in
question.
charge and I'm
Was
being
I not
told I have to
respectfully?
take the group, I'm leaving.
Was I not?
Well, you can take the group, but we're still having a
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you.
Woman, they
Thank
called
you.
me racist earlier. and
I
they
didn't call you
told me I couldn't
racist, sir, at
walk.
all. That was not my woman, and in fact, I defended you. When it was despicable what that woman said about you.
Oh, thank
And hold on, and I defended you. A woman made
I
fun.
thought you was your
Excuse me, wait.
girl.
A woman made fun of you. She was a Kamala supporter because you couldn't walk. And I told her to stop, and I defended you. I said, we might disagree, but let's be respectful. I defended
was your
you.
girl.
I defended you, and she was not my girl. And she was wrong.
Thank you.
What I'm not doing here is I'm trying to have.
Nobody gives a shit. You're
I do.
Have a nice day.
I do. Some of us do want to have civil
Some of
discourse,
us
so-
do. So have a nice day. Have a nice
What are you
day.
going to do when
Have a
Trump
nice
wins?
day.
What are you going to do when Trump wins? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you packing and leaving the country with your woke celebrities that lie all the time?
That's not
You don't care about saving our country?
over messages that you send to women.
So the question is why? And because if you're trying to talk, is there any reasoning with those folks?
None. We know what's really sad about this whole thing, Don. The African-American man that was sitting right next to me, he's a Trump supporter. We were having a very good civil conversation, and I give him a lot of credit. He was listening to me. I was listening to him. And later on, they started ganging up on him because he was talking to me. A really nice guy. We exchanged information afterwards. We don't agree on everything, but we were having a really good civil conversation. And then if you see that lady approach me at the end of the video wearing the red shirt, again, we were talking about gun control, and I said, what are your solutions? And she says, what about car accidents? And I said, what does that have to do with gun control? So many of these people are not capable of having intellectual civil conversations. But that one gentleman, the poor guy who was sitting there, nice man who was trying to have a conversation with me, and he couldn't because of these crazies that kept interrupting us. And it's so frustrating, and just a lot of stupidity there. A lot of people that are not capable of having a conversation, and it's unfortunate because I'd rather have a civil conversation with somebody, but impossible.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about the price of eggs and all of that. And look, people can do what they want, they can buy what they want. But if the guy's going to come with I'm sure the guy who talked about the price of eggs, I'm sure he had on Trump T-shirt,
Sure.
maybe a hat, maybe all of those things, which that kind of adds up. Look, do what you want. But I'm just saying, if you're concerned about the price of eggs, maybe your priority should be on eggs. Do you
Good point,
understand what
Don.
I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. In fact, the last Trump rally that I went to in Vegas, I interviewed a man who had a truck that was decked out in Trump gear on his truck. He was complaining about the economy, and I said, how much did you pay for all this stuff in your truck? He says, $6,000. And I said, so the economy's terrible. You're talking about the price of eggs, but you had no problem spending $6,000 so you could have Trump's picture on your truck. And he didn't say anything, right? I mean, how much money do these people spend for the shirts, the hats, the watches, whatever, the trading cards? These people have no credibility if they want to complain about the economy, yet they're giving all this cash to Donald Trump for Bibles. I mean, but that's who these people are. Did you see all what they were decked out in? And she makes a dumb comment to me because I'm like, you're a cultist, right? And then she makes a comment referring to how she thought I was talking about her body, which obviously I wasn't. I was talking about the clothes that she was wearing. So she didn't even understand the correlation that I was trying to make. And then they complained to police officers about me, by the way. I want to add that. It's only freedom of speech to them if they agree with somebody. But the second they disagree with you on a public sidewalk, the cop came up to me and he started laughing. And he's like, yeah, they complained about you. And I said, what did they complain about? Oh, that you were yelling at them. And I said, first of all, I wasn't. They're the ones that were yelling at me. One of the men, assaulted me. I was spit on by a woman. And second of all, like I said before, freedom of speech only pertains to these people if they agree with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're there to protest the vice president. I'm sure, weren't they yelling things at her?
Absolutely.
Outside? And so they're upset. Even if you had yelled at them, wouldn't you be returning the same energy that they, so nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
One more. There's another one of you trying to interview them, and I think you had a bit of trouble here, Brian. Here you go.
Hi, can we ask you guys a few questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you support the biggest tax breaks for the rich, the top 1%?
That's including Harris.
Hold on, one at a time. Let me ask her first. No, Donald Trump had the highest.
What are you anyway?
Tax
I
breaks.
don't believe that.
Okay.
What are you? A press?
Okay. I'm a member of the press that's asking you questions. Is that okay?
Can you pause it, please?
Yeah, I don't believe that.
You don't.
Okay, so when you ask them, Brian, and you give them facts when you say he had the biggest tax cuts for the rich, which is a fact, and then they just say, I don't believe that, do they offer any evidence back to the contrary?
None, zero. And, I probably didn't handle this video as good as I could have at the end, and I'll explain after why I said what I said to them. But as soon as I ask the first question, I know exactly the type of people that I am dealing with. Now, even if you don't believe in facts and they don't think Trump gave the tax breaks to the top 1%, as you said, they don't give me any reasons. It's like saying the earth is flat, right? With no science to back that up. So right off the bat, 5 seconds into this, I know exactly what I'm dealing with.
Okay, let's continue for a bit.
Well,
I don't believe what your question's even asking. I mean, we have been taxed more than unbelievable. It's 100% inflation in the grocery store. It's 100%
So would you
gas.
Would you blame
all the
Okay.
illegals coming in? We can't take it anymore.
So
Can you
inflation
pause it, please? Inflation is 100% and gas is 100% higher?
I'm sorry. Yeah, what does that mean, Don? 100% inflation. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, Don. I think inflation is under 3%. Compared to all the other G7 countries, I think we're number one. Correct me
Well,
if I'm
and
wrong.
the evidence that inflation is coming down is that the Fed's lowered interest rates because they're getting a handle on the inflation. So go ahead.
Correct. And it just, again, it's another fact. And it gets worse because I think later here in this video, I asked her, do you blame Joe Biden for inflation all over the world? She says yes. These people have no understanding of cause and effect, the war in the Ukraine, coming out of a pandemic. There are a lot of factors that go into inflation. And again, I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can run on their record. Yeah. Look at, as you mentioned, the trend downward. These people have no understanding, no sense of reality.
Well, I saw the former President Trump last night at a town hall. By the way, LBC was in the chat. LBC, who's saying that the economy really does suck. LBC, I don't know what your personal finances are, okay? But the economy is better now than it was under Donald Trump. I don't know if Nikki, if you have the former president talking about the Donald Trump saying that he had a good economy when he started, and Obama says, yeah, because it was my economy you inherited.
Right.
It was 17 months of growth, and then you drove it into the ground, and then the pandemic you handled poorly, so Joe Biden had to dig us out of that, and now we're coming back around really from the mistakes of Donald Trump, and his supporters and people have nerve to say, this is a terrible economy under Joe Biden. They have no concept and no idea of the reality here. And you cannot, did you try to get those facts into these folks' heads as you were talking to them out there?
I tried, but every fact you give them they just brush it off. That's with many in the MAGA cult. It doesn't matter. I mean, again, when Donald Trump said, and I believe, Don, this is one of the most truthful things that Donald Trump has said maybe in the last 10 years, I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. You can't have real intellectual conversations at any value with some of these people. I try to give them facts, but they just won't listen.
Yeah, well, they turn it to something else, right? If you,
Right.
if you give them facts, and they'll turn it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Let's continue on for a bit, and then I want to move on from this one because I think there's a very important one that I want to play on where you talk to them about felony charges, but a little bit more of this.
All over my friends are losing their jobs.
Gotcha. Inflation is up all over the world. Is that Joe Biden's fault also?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
It is.
his fault. For
Gotcha.
letting in all
For all over the world.
illegals,
Okay.
for open borders.
As a woman, how do you feel about supporting a sexual abuser?
What is sexual abuse?
Oh,
Proven in a
come
court of
on.
law.
Don't go away.
Proven in a court of law. No,
I'm
I'm not going to go away. This is freedom of speech. I have the right to stand here just like you do.
Did she have an answer for that?
None.
I mean, they believe that he is, but I mean, even though he was found liable in court?
They don't even admit that he's a convicted felon. Now, you can disagree with the outcome of the liable sexual abuse, but that was still an outcome. He's liable for sexual abuse. It'd be one thing if they said, listen, I don't believe E. Jean Carroll. I would disagree with them, but they're not even based in any sort of reality that that case even happened, that liable sexual abuse case even happened. I guess if you watch Newsmax all day or you listen to right-wing entities, they're brainwashed. But I don't even think they understand or even know that he's a 34-count felon. That's how ill-informed, that's a nice way of putting it, these people are.
Marlisha Johnson's in the chat and asking Brian, what's your guest's name and how can I follow him? What's his affiliation? What do you say to her?
Oh, I appreciate that. So my name is Brian Shapiro. My YouTube page is @PTL Radio Show. My website is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live. I'm on the air every day, just like Don, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2. So I go live on the radio here in Vegas, but I'm also live on my YouTube page, on my X. The best way to follow me, pushingthelimits.live, my website.
Brian, let's move on. I want to talk about the 34 felony charges that you spoke to someone about. You were speaking to a man about that, and you said they won't even admit, that woman wouldn't even admit that he's liable for sexual abuse. How much more do you need to hear after that?
Yep.
Because last time I checked, Donald Trump was liable. Also, Donald Trump was arrested, arraigned, and bailed out in New York, charged with crimes. I watched it live on television. It did happen. And he admits that it happens, and he says that's why he believes he's relatable to black people, especially black men, is because, he's got some charges and he could be, facing some jail time, which is interesting. So here are you talking to people about his criminal record. Here it is.
Guy has a Trump safety, Kamala crime sign, yet Donald Trump is a 34-count felon. It's very confusing, this sign. Very confusing sign. Trump is a 34-count felon, yet this guy is holding up a sign that says Kamala crime. That makes a lot of sense. It says Trump safety, Kamala crime. Sir, is Donald Trump a 34-count felon?
I doubt it.
What do you mean you doubt it? But a jury decided that he's a 34. Can we agree on that?
No.
So a jury didn't decide.
No.
So who decided then?
Okay, pause.
It's not illegal, and it's going to be 6.
But
Okay.
Don, I don't know what to say. It's unbelievable.
We're going to hear what you had to say, but I'm just wondering. I want to get in the moment. You guys can back up a couple seconds on that, so I make sure we get everything. I'm not sure how much is left on this clip, but what he doesn't believe that. It's the same thing that the woman said about him being liable of sexual assault. I don't believe that. About what was the other thing that you told her about? You said I don't believe
inflation, liable sexual abuser, 34-count felon. They're in denial.
Okay, but that is honestly, I gave the signs of a cult. I don't know if that was you on the program that day when I gave people. No, it's actually maybe on social media when I gave people I went down the list from doctors, right, who deal with people, like professionals who deal with people like that, and I gave them all the signs of what a cult is.
Yeah.
These people are exhibiting their behavior. Now, listen, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I believe that they have just been co-opted, right? They have been marks. They are marks by a con man, right? So I like to cut them some slack, but still they're ill-informed. And this is the harm that is caused by a cult leader, especially when you consider what happened. And Nikki, give me the soundbite, please, if you can, of the man yesterday who called into Dan Abrams' show and was crying about his dad who had, fallen victim to the cult of MAGA. But go on, I mean, and respond, Brian, because it's shocking. They don't believe anything.
They don't. And I'm going to give you a story and a backstory with this guy. Okay. So a little bit after this video, there was a Kamala Harris supporter that was mocking this guy because he can't walk. I immediately defended him. And I looked at her and I said, that's not right. Don't do that. Because it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. That's inappropriate. I defended this man. And we shook hands towards the latter of the day. He took to social media later last night and was just making offensive and disgusting comments about me. And I said, you know what, dude? I defended you. I was respectful to you. We shook hands, even though we disagree. It's only a matter of time before they'll turn on you. And this guy, listen, I'm not. Look at the way he's dressed. And again, I don't like to profile people, but look at the shirt he's wearing. Calls Donald Trump a legend. He's got the Trump hat, the Trump signs. Tell me that this is not a member of the cult. Tell me this is not a cultist who looks up to Cheeto Jesus, who looks up to this man like he's a god. And, the conversation continues here for a little bit, but you can't get through to these people, and this is just another example.
All right, let's continue on a little bit.
Jury decided that he's a 34. Can we agree on that?
No.
So a jury didn't decide.
No.
So who decided then?
It's all legal and it's going to be 60.
But
I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not either, but he was found guilty in a court of law.
Yeah, a kangaroo court.
A kangaroo, what does that mean?
Look it up.
What does a kangaroo court mean? I don't know.
I'm not a
Help me
lawyer.
understand.
I can't argue for it.
So if you're not a lawyer,
It's gonna
then
be
why would you say it's not unfair? Okay. So this gentleman is supporting a 34-count felon rapist. He says Trump's safety, yet he's the liable sexual abuser. It makes a lot of sense. He says Kamala crime, yet Kamala was a prosecutor.
I support the police.
What's that?
I support the police.
So do I.
I used to be a
So
cop.
does Kamala. She's a former prosecutor. I respect that. Did Trump support the police on January 6th?
I agree with you.
They're hostages and patriots. Okay.
Okay, so was that the vice president's motorcade going by?
The motorcade just arrived at that moment, so that's when I stopped filming and I recorded the motorcade. Yep.
And by the way, the odd thing is that you're saying that you were yelling at them, but what did I hear in the background? Was that they were quiet, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a bunch of nonsense. I mean
they
can
were
tell you-
yelling. I was being sarcastic.
Right. I mean, it's a bunch of complete nonsense. I mean, I can tell you right now, the Trump supporters were extremely obnoxious, loud, confrontational, but yet they'll say that I was the agitator. I mean, I thought I was very respectful to that gentleman. In fact, I was respectful to him the entire few hours that I saw him when I was out there. And then he's the one who decided to be disrespectful to me on social media. It's unfortunate. And like I said, I defended him when someone made some inappropriate comments to him. I defended him.
Yeah. So listen, Brian and I spoke last night after this happened, and I've got to say, Brian, you were a little rattled. I have to admit, I was a bit worried about you.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Don. If I go to a Trump rally or, quite frankly, any of these rallies, I probably need to have some security.
Yeah.
I've had some people that have just said some untruthful, harsh, horrible things. And listen, I know I understand you've had to deal with that at times in your career as well. I guess it comes with the territory. Doesn't make it right. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to cover these types of events and you're dealing with these kinds of people, you should probably have security with you.
Yeah. Look, and one of the main reasons that I want to point this out is because when people are co-opted like that, and I believe that they are brainwashed, they start doing things obviously that goes against their own good will and their own self-care. Mm-hmm. And people often, and you can see it here, they vote against their own interests. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you know you have the storms that are down south, right? You've had Helene and Milton really ravage the southeastern part of our country. And there are people who believe that Democrats, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, are controlling the weather and that they are hitting red states. If we have that clip, Nikki, you remember that? We could get it for me if you can find it. That they're hitting red states on purpose. I believe that was from the Good Liars, right? But this is what happens when you do that. This is a man who is so upset because his dad has fallen victim to the MAGA cult and he won't even accept the help from FEMA when he has lost everything. Watch.
In-law lives just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and he was badly damaged by Hurricane Helene. And he has refused all FEMA help because he's a hardcore Trumper. And he literally believes that if he accepts anything from FEMA, they're going to take his house. I don't understand how so many people are under the spell of this freaking con man. I don't understand it.
Well, it's absolutely heartbreaking about your father-in-law. I'm so sorry to hear it. I hope. Dan, it's hard to even imagine it. I mean, he lost almost everything, and he's refusing all help from the federal government and complaining to us that he doesn't have food, that he doesn't have the stuff he needs, and yet he won't accept the help. What the hell are we supposed to do? We're not in a position to be able to fly across the country and help him. Yeah. There's people begging us to get him to accept help, and he won't do it. Wow.
And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. I guarantee you, I'm not the only one.
I wish there was something I could say as to, I don't know. Does he have access to any electronics where you could send him some information debunking this and that he might?
We've done all of that. We've done all of that. We've sent him all the FEMA bulletins. We've sent him all the stuff from the fact checkers. He doesn't believe it. He thinks he just believes Trump. Literally, Dan, it's a cult. He's a cult member. I'm sorry to say it. He's a cult member. And he's my father-in-law, and it sucks.
Brian?
Wow, is that powerful? So, Don, you know what this reminds me of? And that's really powerful audio.
Can I just say one thing, though?
Yeah.
Pardon my interruption. I know Dan Abrams. I like Dan Abrams. I don't know what he said after that, but I would have said to my listeners, yeah, it's a cult. And we have to stop both sides in these things because it's not both sides here. This is not Democrats. This is the Republican Party that is MAGA now. Yeah. And the reason that this man is brainwashed, as his own son-in-law says, is because of the misinformation, and it's also because of some of us in the media who like to give false equivalency to the MAGA cult and normal politics. And just because you say something negative or truthful, which tends to be truthful about the MAGA folks, that you got to then say something negative about the Democrats.
Yeah. Don, you are so right.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
that's okay.
Because I think that we are, even the people who are saying, oh, I'm so sad, contribute to it.
You are so right, Don. It is our responsibility as members of the media to call out, call a spade, for lack of a better term. And you're right. Dan Abrams should have pushed and said, yeah, he's a cultist. You're absolutely right. Don, you know what this reminds me of? I had COVID a couple of years ago. I was in the ICU for 2 weeks. I almost died. And I spoke to some nurses and doctors that saved my life. They told me stories of some far-right extremists that were literally minutes from death that said they didn't believe that COVID was real. And they didn't get vaccinated. And they said it. They admitted it. Gosh, I wish I got vaccinated. The last moments of their life.
I saw it for myself. Yeah. During COVID, once we were allowed to get on an airplane, right, because there was a period where we couldn't, I went down with my team from CNN. We went into the hospital that I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Baton Rouge General Hospital. We went to the COVID ward, and we spoke to people who, now you had a different experience. My experience was people on their deathbeds, and I think one or two of them actually died after I left, saying, I wish I had not listened to this bullshit. I wish I would have gotten vaccinated. I wish that I would have worn a mask or taken care of myself, because now I'm dying and I'm never going to see my grandkids again, or I'm never going to see my kids again, or my family. So you're the opposite experience is that for you was that they were even on their deathbeds, they didn't believe it?
Yeah, I heard that from nurses, some of the nurses and doctors that saved my life, that even as they were literally dying before everyone's eyes, they still said this virus isn't real. Now, I agree with you. There were also some people that regretted not getting vaccinated. And they said, boy, I wish I didn't listen to this person. That's why these members of the media and people with large platforms, their voice is so important to be honest and truthful. There is no question a lot of people have died because of medical disinformation, mostly put forth by the far right. And there's no question that this man, is not getting help from FEMA because he's a cultist, because he believes the nonsense that Donald Trump speaks on a daily basis. That's why this man is such a danger to democracy. It's not just about our elections. He's a danger to, daily human beings. Here's a man who just refuses to receive help from FEMA. It's insane, these people. It's ridiculous.
Lady K is in the chat, and Lady K is saying in the chat, I lost 25 loved ones due to this man's mishandling of COVID. Now, that's a lot of people, Lady K.
Yeah.
Explain that to us, because that's a lot. We know a lot of people died during COVID. And so, Lady K, in the chat, if you can explain that to us, I would really like to hear more. But she said she lost 25 loved ones. I want to play this. And listen, just everyone, so everyone's aware, I had planned to have Brian on to talk about his experience at the town hall last night in Las Vegas. He was confronted by some folks, and really just to speak to him about the vice president, her interaction with the people in the crowd, and who were part of the town hall. And so now we've gotten off on something that I think is really important, and we're going to continue on with this. It's important to inform people about this cultish behavior so that they don't fall victim to it. And perhaps if you have someone in your family, maybe you can talk to them, maybe you can get some help. Maybe we should have an expert on to discuss it.
Sure.
But this is what I was speaking of, Brian, and folks who are watching. This is another instance of someone who does not believe in facts and reality. This is courtesy of our friends over at the Good Liars. Watch.
With the hurricanes.
I think there was an upcoming storm, and then I think government set in with whatever it is that they do. I don't know all the specifics about it. I'm not an expert in cloud seeding or whatever it is that they use to magnify the storm to a higher degree to disturb a land that maybe wanted for lithium that Harris's husband is partaking in.
So they made the storm stronger, so it would hit the.
With this one.
You think that Milton, they're making it stronger?
From a 2 to immediately to 5, like instantaneously.
You're implying that the government made a hurricane stronger to hurt its own country, the United States of America?
Correct.
And what would be the gain of that?
If like there's been people out there, if they have an Alexa, I don't know if you've heard that, and they've asked what caused Milton.
Okay, pause,
you can go
please.
on there now. It's already predicted the number.
Alexa, Brian?
I guess, Don, my question to you is, and I guess we know the answer, is it possible for people in this country to be this ignorant? I guess it is. That an American here in this country believes that the government is making a hurricane stronger. But should we be surprised? Donald Trump is the guy that said he could nuke a hurricane, right? So, people believe this nonsense, these conspiracy theories. And I just feel really bad for this woman. Now, the Good Liars, they're great. They've done my show a few times. I think they're awesome at what they do because they expose how ridiculous these people are and how ignorant they are. A part of it is very funny, but also a part of it is very sad. I feel really bad for this woman.
No, I'm not laughing at her. I think it's laughable. There's a difference, but it's sometimes things are just so outrageous that you're like, You can only laugh at it, right?
Let's be honest. This is his base. This is his base. I'm not saying everybody feels this way. His base of supporters say the 2020 election, was won by Donald Trump. The two-tier justice system, COVID was a hoax. People still feel that way. And now the Democrats are controlling the hurricanes and the government. I mean, I don't know, Don.
Okay.
I don't know. Is this where we are at as a country right now? I don't know.
I think it is, especially if you look at the polling, which I'll talk about in a bit. Here we go.
You can go on there now. It's already predicted the number of deaths and the amount of. It's already predicted it. On a Google, it won't do that. If you ask it about Helene, it'll tell you the government actively used seed clouding. This is before Helene even happened.
Why would a country want to have a hurricane be strong and hit its own country?
Because they want to control certain places. And if you're looking at where the hurricane's going, it's a lot of red states. If you're looking at the counties in North Carolina that were hit, there were all of them, 26 out of 28 of those counties were for Trump. They're doing whatever they can because they can't rig the election.
Even control the weather?
Yes.
Don, can I just say this real quick? Do you remember the story that came out from members of Donald Trump's administration that claimed that Donald Trump didn't want to give aid to certain places because they were filled with Democrats that didn't vote for him?
They were blue areas.
Now, I believe that story. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory because it was verified by people within Donald Trump's own administration. This is that line of thinking. It's the same thing, only even worse maybe, because this lady is saying that the government is controlling where the hurricane goes, not just how strong it is, but it's going into areas that are anti-Trump. I mean, bat you know what crazy.
Well, there is, wow, there's so much to talk about with that. It's unbelievable. Before I get to the vice president, I want to get to the former president last night, because you were talking to the folks out there about the economy, Brian. Mm-hmm. And this is the former president, Barack Obama, in Pennsylvania last night, explaining the whole economic situation over the last 12 years or so. Here we go.
And then, don't boo. I'm going to break you of this habit. And the reason some people think, well, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts.
Okay, where's the lie? I think I said 70 before,
yeah.
But he said 75. And he's right. Do you remember when he came into office in 2008? There was a financial crisis in 2008. They had to take emergency measures because they thought the economy was going to go off of the cliff and we were going to go into a depression. Do you remember that?
Yeah. George W. Bush left Barack Obama with a horrendous economy. Donald Trump left Joe Biden with a horrendous economy. Barack Obama got us out of the gutter, left Donald Trump with a wonderful economy. For a little while, Donald Trump didn't ruin it, right?
Yeah.
He kept it going a little bit. But
I remember, Brian, when I bought a house in Atlanta because I moved to Atlanta then to work for CNN. And I forget, I think my mortgage rate was like in the 6s or 7s. And the mortgage broker was like, this is good, right? And people now are complaining about 3, 4, 5. I'm like, or maybe it was even higher. I remember when I was a kid, my parents' mortgage rates was close to the teens, if not in the teens. We've just gotten so used to things now because you have Democrats who come in like a Bill Clinton, right? Like a President Obama. They fix the economy like a Joe Biden, and then they bring in a Republican and they F it up.
Bill Clinton left us with a surplus.
Yeah.
But this is par for the course for a lot of MAGA Republicans out there. They'll take credit for a bill that they voted against, that Democrats voted for, that has helped their community. This happens all the time. they'll take credit for it when they vote against something. Donald Trump will take credit for a bill that Barack Obama passes. He'll take credit for Barack Obama's economy. That's, you know, and even when the NASDAQ today is record numbers, right? Under the Joe Biden administration, Donald Trump will make the case, I'm sure you've heard this, that the NASDAQ is so high because people out there and investors are making the case that, you know, they believe Donald Trump's going to win. That's why the numbers are so high, record numbers. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, Brian, let's go inside the town hall real quick, and then we'll move on. This is, I think, one of the best moments of the town hall, I believe. Well, actually, you know what? I want to hear her talking about January 6th because it applies to what we've been discussing. Here it is.
This is not about a debate on trickle-down economic theory. It's literally about, do we support a democracy and the Constitution of the United States? Or are we going to go on the path of somebody who is a sore loser and lost the election in 2020 and tried to have a violent mob undo it? A violent mob that attacked the United States Capitol, that injured 140 uniformed law enforcement officers. Some died. To undo the will of the American people in a free and fair election. And I think, frankly, sir, that is why some former Trump supporters are supporting me. I think January 6th for a lot of people was just a bridge too far. It was just one step too far. So I hope to earn your vote, and I thank you for your candor. Thank you.
Gracias. Great moment.
Was it?
Great moment. I think that's when she's at her best, when she shows that type of conviction. And she's absolutely correct. There's a lot of Republicans that I know, prominent Republicans that I speak to, friends of yours, friends of mine, people like Anthony Scaramucci and Joe Walsh and those types of people, Republicans for Harris. They'll talk about January 6th. Donald Trump, January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen months before. And she's, I thought that was there were a lot of great moments yesterday, and I know you'll play more, but I thought that was a really poignant one when talking about the big differences between her and Donald Trump, and they're polar opposites, but that was a wonderful moment, I thought.
Was there a problem, like, I don't mean it badly, but like with the language? I'm sure there were interpreters there, but I think she spoke Spanish. She's from California. I'm sure she speaks some Spanish. No issue with translation or language?
No, I thought Univision, by the way, did a great job. I thought it was a small, intimate crowd, good questions, good answers, and I hope that if you are undecided, which, by the way, I find fascinating that there are still people out there that are undecided, but if you are, I hope you watched that last night, because I heard a strong case for anybody still that is still undecided, the differences between the two candidates.
This is I thought the most powerful moment as I watched last night was the vice president responding to a woman who lost her mother, talking to her about immigration and healthcare. They connected to because the vice president also lost her mother. Here it is.
La siguiente pregunta es Yvette Castillo de Las Vegas. She wants to share a personal story, Madam Vice President.
Hi. Buenas noches, Vicepresidenta.
Good evening,
Harris.
Madam Vice
Usted
President
y yo
Harris.
tenemos algo en común. You and I have something in common. We both lost our mother.
Oh.
And I'm an American citizen, born to Mexican parents. They were here before I was even born. They've worked their whole lives. But with the way immigration laws change over time, I was only able to help my dad get his legal status squared away, but not my mom's. My mom passed away just 6 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And she was never, ever able to get the type of care and service that she needed or deserved. Sorry.
Take your time. Take your time.
So my question for you is, what are your plans, or do you have plans to support that subgroup of immigrants who have been here their whole lives, or most of them, and have to live and die in the shadows?
I'm so sorry for you.
Thank you.
You must remember your mother as she lived.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough of a feeling about your strength that it probably comes from her to know she would want you to remember her as she lived and not as she died, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take it one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents were here for years, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And your father was able to earn his pathway to citizenship, but your mother was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to assume it's because part of the problem is that we do have a broken immigration system,
Mm-hmm.
including it being the case that even though when we were elected in 2020, and the first bill we offered Congress, before we did the bipartisan infrastructure bill, before we did the work on gun safety, before we did the work on investing in chips and science, the first bill we offered within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix the immigration system, including creating a comprehensive, earned pathway to citizenship for hardworking people. And it was not taken up. And now we look at a situation where people are suffering. The reality is that in terms of having access to health care, had your mother been able to gain citizenship, she would have been entitled to health care that may have alleviated her suffering and yours. And this is one example of the fact that there are real people who are suffering because of an inability to put solutions in front of politics. I mean, an example of this on immigration policy is that as it relates to what we need to do to strengthen our border. A bipartisan group of members of Congress, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came together with one of the strongest border security bills we've had in decades. And it included 1,500 more border agents to go to the border to help those hardworking folks who are working around the clock. The border agents supported the bill. It included more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl, which is killing people of every background in every region of our country. It would have allowed us to have more resources to take on transnational criminal organizations. I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Guadalajara cartel to the Sinaloa cartel. And Donald Trump found out about that bill, realized it would be a solution, and told them not to put it on the floor for a vote because he would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And again, Enrique, we were talking about it, in terms of real leadership is about solving problems on behalf of the people. And I'm so sorry for what you've been through. I'm so sorry for what you've been through. And, you know, my mother came to the United States at the age of 19. She was by herself, came alone by herself. She raised my sister and me, Maya. And I know what it is like to have a hardworking mother who loves you and to lose that. But I know that her spirit is alive. I know her spirit is alive. And will you tell me her name and let's speak her name?
So,
Maria Dolores,
I hate
sorry,
to interrupt
Maria
that,
Dolores
but
Figueroa.
just to say that I could never see Donald Trump doing that. And I think that that was very good. And someone who's in that thinks that her pronunciation was perfect. Guadalajara, I said, so.
I was thinking the same thing, Don. What you just said, I was just thinking the same thing. Can you imagine Donald Trump doing that? He would make it about himself. What an eloquent, heartfelt answer that Kamala Harris gave. And after the town hall, she actually went over and spoke to her some more because Kamala
we can show
Harris,
that as you're talking of her just going over. Yeah, but keep talking, Brian. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, this is decency. Kamala Harris is not doing this to score political points. She's not going over to this woman afterwards and taking pictures. She's not signing autographs. The first thing she thinks about is, I want to talk to this poor woman who's suffering. Yeah. This is a real leader, a woman of empathy, someone who cares, not somebody who shows up for a photo op. I guarantee you, she didn't go over there because she thought it would look good, or maybe she could get that photo op. No, she did it because she cares. She didn't care whether the cameras were on or not. Yeah. And to me, that's more important than any policy. I want a leader that cares about people. And in that answer, you could see it. Kamala Harris, she's not an actor, okay? She's not an actress. She's somebody that is a decent human being with something that Donald Trump doesn't have, and it's called empathy.
Yeah. Brian, I'm glad that you're okay, and I really appreciate you joining us today. And you got to figure out a way to be safe. Because
Don, I need some of your bodyguards. Send them to Las Vegas, all right?
You got to go. Look, I live in a different place. I live in New York City, so it's it's different now. And plus, I'm not on the I'm not the big target that I once was. So things are a little bit different for me now. But still, I get a lot of hate, and you're going to get a lot of hate. And depending on the outcome of this election, that hate could escalate, and that is the sad part in all of this. So I will tell you that. I appreciate you being around. I want you to stay around. I want you to continue to call people out on the radio and on your platform. And you're welcome on this platform anytime. But just be safe and continue. Keep your cool. Don't become one of them, right? No matter what you do, just keep your cool, okay? So Brian Shapiro over on the radio. You can get him on YouTube. You can get him everywhere. It is PTL, right?
At PTL Radio Show on YouTube, on X at PTL Radio Show, and of course my website, pushingthelimits.live, and I'm doing it again today in a couple hours. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Don.
No, it's not like the Jimmy, what is it, Tammy Faye and Jim Baker. It's not that PTL, right?
No, not that PTL, Pushing the Limits. But Don, I always appreciate it when you invite me on. As I told you yesterday, I used to always do show prep watching you on TV. So it's always an honor to be on your show. And I always appreciate what you do and what you're continuing to do. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Look, I remain true. There are others, and I saw you guys talking about them in the crowd, saying that they should take a lesson and that they did not, the advice that I gave and said what I have done after that caller said. But they're talking about folks, and even folks I used to work with, that they're like, I don't know what's going on with them. I have no idea. But I remain true to my principles and also facts. And I can forgive, but I don't forget. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I appreciate that. You've done that throughout your entire career, and that's so important.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so listen, guys, thank you so much. Brian, hang around for a little bit because folks are loving you.
Thank you.
I love Brian's show. Check it out, says Judy Carter. Also, May Money in the building is 32 years old today. I've been wanting to say that, so thank you for that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and the like and subscribe because it affects the algorithm and we get more people joining and they can become part of the Elimination. They too can become a Lemonhead if they want to. So Lisa B says, be safe, Brian. Thank you, Brian, says Mango Lime. It's Tim time in Michigan, says Danny H. So great show. Aretha Barnes says, thank you, Brian, says Winky Campbell. Okay, guys, I'm going to see you live at 5, except the Live at 5 show may be at 6 because I'm doing something. Brian is very smart, says Monty Music. So we may be on at 6 or a little bit later, okay? So pardon the interruption. But we'll work it out. We'll let you know in the comments or I'll let you know on social. Okay, so have a good day. Live at 5. We'll see you at whatever time we bring it on tonight. Okay, Brian, have a great show. We'll all be listening and watching. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button, too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.